Hello everyone, I'm Morgan, and today I'm starting the second part in my series of reading the Booktube SFF Awards shortlist. I will link to the first video I made where I read the adult fantasy category, but right now I'm going to talk to you about the science fiction and the debut categories. So the nominees in the science fiction category are Recursion by Blake Crouch, Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and Memory Called Empire by Martine Arcady. Of those three, I have already read Recursion, but I kind of hated it. I thought it was extremely repetitive, and I think that even people who like this book always say that they don't want to tell you about the plot because if they do, then the book will be ruined. And that is true because the plot is so thin and the story is completely plot driven. The characters are underdeveloped. There's just nothing but the plot. I will say it's kind of enjoyable, and I listened to the audiobook back in May of last year, I think, when it came out, and it was a good enough experience, but I didn't love it. I thought the story was very repetitive because they could kind of go back in time, and so you could not really feel for the characters because he could always go back in time if something was not going okay. And so it's not that great in my opinion. But obviously, almost everyone loved it besides me, so whatever. I will be reading the two others on this list, and for the debut category, the nominees are The $10,000 of January by Alex E. Harrow, A Memory Called Empire, and Gideon and the Ninth. Gideon the Ninth. So, obviously there is some overlap between the debut and the science fiction category, that's why I'm putting them together in this part of my series, but the last one, The $10,000 of January, I have kind of no interest in reading. It seems like exactly the kind of book that I do not like, the YA fantasy, and I don't know. I'm hoping I'm going to be surprised by this, happily surprised, but I'm not really giving it too much hope, so whatever. If I'm not liking a book, I will always allow myself to DNF, so we'll see. I started Gideon the Ninth, and honestly, I think I'm going to DNF it. I will tell you a little bit more about the story first, as I actually know now. So, this story is about Gideon, who is part of the Ninth House. She has been a slave all her life, and she has to follow orders of Harrow the Ninth, who is basically the princess of the Ninth House, and she's the one who rules the house. And at the beginning of the book, Gideon is trying to escape from the Ninth House, but she doesn't succeed. And after her failed attempt, Harrow asks her to come with her to another part of the world in the third house, I think it is, and they have to go train there as the emperor of the house is asked, and she is supposed to become a cavalier and protect Harrow the Ninth, so her enemy. And obviously, I like this trope of enemies having to become not exactly friends but closer and having to make friends at least, and but the writing in this is absolutely terrible in my opinion. For one, it's about the characterization of Gideon. She is like extremely trying really hard to be funny, like literally at some point she makes some jokes like your mother did that, or just she's trying to be really edgy, and it's absolutely terrible characterization in my opinion. It feels a lot like YA, and I like YA, it's fine, but angsty stuff like that is just bad, and I don't like this, and there are other stuff that are bothering me. The world building is almost non-existent, which is fine because I know quite a bit about necromancy. So Harold the Ninth is really good at necromancy, and most people in the Nine Houses do necromancy. But she's one of the best, and so she has a lot of skeletons who basically work for her, and it's kind of weird, but it's the way it's going there. And in most of the houses, the skeletons are there to do everything you tell them to do, but you have to be able to train them first and stuff like that. I don't struggle too hard to understand everything about the necromancy part of things, but yeah, the characterization is absolutely terrible, and not a lot of things are happening. I've read like a fourth of the book, and still almost nothing has happened. And I actually read a few reviews when I was thinking about DNFing this book, and people said that the book only picks up at the last third of the book. So I'm sorry, but I will not be wasting my time like that. So yeah, I'm DNFing it. Yeah, so that's one book down at least. So we'll see. Now, A Memory Called Empire, I am really liking. This book follows Mahit Desmar, who is a woman that is sent to be an ambassador on this alien planet, I guess. I'm not sure there are aliens really, but whatever. It's another planet, and she is sent there after her predecessor has died. She doesn't actually know that until she gets there, but they show her his body, and everyone is wondering if he was killed. So there's a mystery there, which is really interesting. And we see Mahit Desmar, who is discovering all of the Empire with us. So I really love this trope when we have a character that discovers the world at the same time you are, because it makes the world building really organic and easy to follow. So that's really nice. And also, Mahit starts making friends with her liaison, the woman who is assigned to her to help her with um, everything about this new culture. And it's really funny, like they have a bit of a banter going on, and it's really nice. And I don't know, it's a kind of science fiction that I like on other planets and just discovering stuff, so it's really fun so far. And I love mysteries, so this is perfect for me. I'm almost two-thirds into Memory Called Empire, and I still like it just as much. It's very action-packed and there's a lot of politics, so that's really nice, and there's still quite a bit of banter, so just the kind of stuff that I like. Hi, so I finished A Memory Called Empire a few weeks ago at this point, and I really enjoyed it all throughout. I thought it was just exactly my kind of science fiction. It was just the right amount of hopeful and interesting, and I loved the characters, and I also didn't expect it to be LGBTQ. There were a few, well, one character was bisexual, and there was also one that there was a female-female relationships, and I really enjoyed that. And there were some play of words that I enjoyed as well. So just overall a great book, and it just makes me feel of all the latest trends of sci-fi, like the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers and Starwood and Starside by Brandon Sanderson, that just focus a lot on characters but are also really action-packed at the same time, and that just makes for a great book in my opinion. But now for the last book I have to read for this video. It was The 10 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. I went about 30% into this book on ebook, and I just wasn't really enjoying it. It wasn't bad exactly, but it's mostly historical fiction rather than fantasy. and I'm just not that into historical fiction unless I really like the characters, which wasn't the case in here. The story was about this girl in the 19th century, I thought it was, in the beginning of the 19th century, and there was she finds this book that has a story of another girl that is approximately the same age as her but lived quite a few years before, and it's about her finding this book. And one day she writes in this book that she wants to find a door and to go into another world after she has had problems, and the door appears and she goes through it to some other world, but then she decides to go back and she cannot find this door anymore because someone she told about this door and they made it disappear in some way. And her dad dies also at the beginning of the book, so it's hard on her, and she has to live with this very rich man that her dad used to work for, and her only friend is her dog, basically. It's not like, yeah, a bad book, but I was just really not into it. And from the reviews that I read, because I always read reviews when I'm thinking of DNFing a book, I read that there's not much that happens until like 70% into the book, so I'm not willing to read that much. I wasn't enjoying it. So to sum up, in the science fiction category, we had Recursion that was nominated, which I didn't particularly like, Gideon the Knife that I DNF'd, and A Memory Called Empire that I loved. So obviously my winner for the science fiction category is A Memory Called Empire. No surprise there. And then for the debut category, the nominees were 10,000 Doors of Jerry, which I DNF'd, A Memory Called Empire again, and Gideon and the Knife. So once again, the winner for me is A Memory Called Empire. But yeah, I'm still glad I'm doing this challenge because I am discovering a lot of books that I would never have read, including A Memory Called Empire. I had heard good things about it, but I wasn't particularly interested. Nobody ever talked about what the plot is about. It's like, well, obviously I've talked quite a bit about it, but it has amazing characters, but also it has some kind of Aztec mythology a bit, and I don't know, it's just a great time, and I would highly recommend you read this book if you read any. So yeah, that's all for me. I'm also done with the middle grade category, so I will be filming a video for that. I have not filmed clips for these books as I just didn't have time. I had a lot of exams recently, but I'm finally done. So I will just film some reviews about these books. Overall, it was really good, so you will see that in a few days. So that's all for me. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video. Goodbye! Dream I know, deep up my feelings for you.